I went through trials and tribulations, being kicked out of an office, having to call people who knew that the company was in administration, liquidation. And there was one moment then where I was sitting on the couch in Australia and I was living with my twin, and he handed me a free ticket that he got to a business conference. And I'd never been to a business conference, didn't realize that you could develop yourself personally and sort of take charge of your own life. And lo and behold, the first speaker that was there was Tony Robbins, and that just completely blew my mind, and it sort of just opened the doors. What I started to do was I started to, I guess, invest in myself, because the best investment that you can make is in yourself.
Welcome back to Mic'd Up. I'm your host, Mike DiCioccio, and today's guest is a sales pro, investor, and a lifelong learner who's built a global career spanning Australia, the UK, Ireland, and the UAE. Over the past decade, he's earned promotions, gained life-changing lessons, and now he gives back by mentoring aspiring sales professionals, helping them master their mindset, time management, and resilience. And from climbing icy mountains with Wim Hof to winning global pitch competitions, he believes that life is a blank canvas, and with the right lessons, anyone can unlock their full potential. Welcome to the show, author of Built by Lessons, Turn Your Challenges into Triumphs, Gary Daly.
Thank you, Mike. It's great to be here. I really appreciate the intro, and I must say I love the Beatles background behind you as well, so really appreciate that.
Yes, sir. Gary, it's a pleasure to have you on. I know we've been trying to make this happen for a little while, and it's just whatever happens, the schedules, life gets in the way. We finally made it happen, and as we said off camera, everything happens for a reason, and I believe now is the time for you to be on Mic'd Up, and whatever magic we're about to happen was meant to be. Let it be. Mentioned to the Beatles. I have to say, I've done, I don't know how many episodes in front of this new background, which is going to change up, I'm about to change it up a little bit. But I've had, the Beatles up on the wall, and I think only maybe one person or nobody mentioned that. I've had people mention Zeppelin, no mention of Weezer Blue, which is kind of surprising, and no mention of the Chili Peppers or Oasis, which is surprising. So I'm sure people are thinking it in their head, but I thought the albums would get a little bit more love. So I appreciate you. This is, the Beatles, like, they're classic, but that's probably my favorite album right there.
I've walked that, by the way.
You've done Abbey Road?
Yeah, I've done it. Yeah, I used to live near there, so that's why I picked it out.
So where are you right now? Where are you located now? Because I mentioned in the bio Australia, but where are you at right now?
Yeah, so I'm in Dubai in the UAE, so United Arab Emirates in the Middle East.
Very cool. And I know a lot of people are relocating to Dubai. It's incredible. Every time I look, I haven't been there. Every time I look at it, it just looks incredible. It almost looks like it's a futuristic city, something you'd see in like a sci-fi movie. There's a lot of development going on, a lot of really interesting buildings. Tell me a little bit about Dubai before we get into your story. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, of course. So no, definitely the UAE is on an upward trajectory. I mean, when you come here, it's exactly right. It's like going into the future. The buildings, there's skyscrapers everywhere. It's very multinational. Like, you'll meet so many different people, be it entrepreneurs, everyone trying to, I guess, live their dream. And it sounds funny, but because the buildings are so big, you almost like think bigger as well. It actually motivates you and inspires you. And it's sunshine all year round as well. Not that it has any impact on my Irish skin, but
That's cool. I do know that feeling you're talking about. It's kind of the same feeling people get in New York, I would think, or even like LA. Like, there's the energy. LA, I know there's a lot of stuff going on in Los Angeles as we record this, but when LA is not having those crazy riots and all that good stuff, you have the beautiful beaches, you have the beautiful beach houses, but then also the city, and it has this energy, this life, right? And these massive buildings. In New York too, massive buildings, and it just gives you this energy of there's big things happening here, right? So that's kind of the energy you got going on. You mentioned Ireland obviously being your roots. I know the guys on the wall here are from Manchester, but a lot of times people from that area also like Oasis. Where do you stand on that? And are you excited that they're back together?
Yeah, yeah. I wouldn't say I'm excited, but I grew up in the 90s, and I mean Oasis and Blur were sort of the big thing, and yeah, 100% Oasis were probably my favorite. So it is nostalgia sells, so I'm not surprised that they've got back together.
Yeah, I mean, they had their solo careers. Obviously, Noel and Liam both had successful solo careers. I leaned a little bit more towards Liam's stuff, surprisingly, with Noel's the better songwriter of the two, definitely. But for whatever reason, a couple of his albums were good. But I feel like Liam I lean more towards him in his solo career. But I'm excited they're back together. And actually, just a couple nights ago, around Father's Day, I bought myself a Father's Day ticket to go see him in New York. Or Jersey, technically. They're going to be at MetLife Stadium where the Jets and Giants play. So I'm in Philly as we record this. I recently moved to the Philly area. So it's like a 2-hour commute to get to the city. And obviously traffic's going to be wild. But yeah, I'm going to see him. So I'm super excited about that. It's funny you mentioned Blur. Obviously, there was like that rivalry between the two of them back in the day. I like both of them. It's like for me here in the States, I had no beef with either or, but it was kind of interesting to see him go at it all the time.
It was, yeah. No, I love Blur. Coffee and TV is one of my favorites.
Yeah, that's a great song. Is that the album and the song?
It's the milk carton. There's like a crazy video about it. You'll have to watch it if you've not seen it.
I think I have seen that. Song 2 obviously is like overplayed because it's played at every arena, but that was the song that I remember hearing. That it was on MTV at the time. Imagine that they actually played music and music videos. And I remember, funny enough, and we'll get to your story, but this is good. This is getting to know a little bit about you and things that, your culture and cool stuff with growing up. But funny enough, I was coming home, or I forget if I was coming home or leaving, but it was going to religion class. It was like a Tuesday or a Wednesday night around 7:00, hanging out with my buddy. We're going to religion, and the TV was on, and I hear do 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 do, and I'm like, this is interesting. Then that guitar starts in. It's kind of like that thin guitar building, and then the way that is it Damien or Damon? Damon, right?
Yeah, Damien. I think it's Damien. I could be wrong though.
Damien?
Don't quote me on it.
I know. I think it's Damon. We'll have to look it up and see who's right. But anyway, Damon, the lead singer, comes in. That's just that song always hits, So obviously, there's a reason it's played at every arena. So let's do this. Let's let the audience know if they want to connect with you, and when they hear your story, they want more about you. I got it in the show notes. Your website, your social media, it's all in the show notes. It's clickable, so they can connect with you and see what you're up to. I know you and I are connected on LinkedIn, so you're most active there, it seems. Where's the best place for people to find more content from you?
Yeah, LinkedIn. So at Gary Daly Sales on LinkedIn. So that's pretty much where I hang out. And also, of course, the book is on Amazon. So it's called Built by Lessons, and then just put Gary Daly afterwards. So that's where you'll pretty much find me.
Awesome. And I have that ordered as well. So I'm excited for that to come in, Built by Lessons.
Thank you.
A really cool story is, climbing mountains with Wim Hof. That's a really cool thing. We're going to get into that to start. I think that's a big part of, your mindset, your mentality. So you go from climbing mountains with Wim Hof to winning a global pitch competition, or competitions, multiple. You've had some incredible experiences along the way. What would you say taught you the most about yourself?
I think when I moved after finishing university, because I had like the normal upbringing, like great parents, great siblings. I have a twin as well. So that was all really good. And then we went backpacking to Australia. And to be honest, I really didn't know what to do. You're always in university, and it's almost like the institutions give you the goals to hit about passing exams. But then when it comes to finding work, I was lost completely. And I didn't have that much confidence, I quickly realized, because you're in the unknown. So probably the biggest impact for me was actually failure, to be honest, because I got a job in a sales company because I didn't know what to do. And sales was sort of the job that I fell into because I heard about recruitment recruitment is like a fancy word for sales. And I managed to get into like a technology company. But the thing with the company was it was a startup. And within the first 2 weeks, when I was supposed to be paid, I didn't see anything in my bank account. I asked the CEO. I mean, there's 5 of us. The guy was the CEO, a small company. And he gave me a check, and I brought the check to the bank, and the check bounced. And I sort of knew, okay, there's something not right here. Someone else in the company then sent a company-wide email to all 5 or 6 of us, like, you should get out. This is not professional. But for some reason, I stayed. And yeah, long story short, I went through trials and tribulations, being kicked out of an office, having to call people who knew that the company was in administration, liquidation. And there was one moment then where I was sitting on the couch in Australia, and I was living with my twin, and he handed me a free ticket that he got to a business conference. And I'd never been to a business conference, didn't realize that you could develop yourself personally and sort of take charge of your own life. And lo and behold, the first speaker that was there was Tony Robbins. And that just completely blew my mind. And
yeah,
it sort of just opened the doors then for
game changer.
Like, yeah.
Did you know who he was Did you know who he was before that?
I genuinely didn't. No, I genuinely didn't. I think I was sort of, I won't say, I was a little bit sleepwalking through life in some senses. Yeah.
That was like a lightning bolt right there. Yeah. Tony Robbins, obviously, he's kind of the OG of this space, right? There's a lot of guys I like to listen to, a lot of podcasts I listen to for inspiring content. And I have to say, like, I appreciate Tony, but I don't really listen to much of him, or some people still call him Anthony Robbins, because I think his original cassette tapes or whatever way back, I mean, he started, I think he was doing this back in like the 80s and 90s before podcasts existed, and he was doing it kind of on tape and through books, courses, and now podcasting blew up and there's a lot of influencers. But yeah, he's kind of the OG. A lot of people respect him. I did one of his courses before with a local, when I was in Buffalo. Somebody came in and they were teaching his material. They were like one of his coaches. It wasn't him directly, but just phenomenal mindset and content. So that was kind of that lightning bolt that struck you and said, I got to get my act together.
Oh, completely. Yeah. So then what I started to do was I started to, I guess, invest in myself, because the best investment that you can make is in yourself. So I started going to all of these seminars, and I started picking up really good skills. Like even in sales, there was a guy called Brian Tracy, and he sort of helped me book.
I know Brian. Yeah.
Yeah. He was almost like the OG when it comes to sales. So, booking meetings and just following what he was telling me to do, listening to, recordings, all that good stuff before work, after work. And then I quickly realized I was in the wrong vehicle, because although I was getting some results, there's only so much you can do when you're not in the right vehicle. And then that led me to actually leaving Australia and going back to Europe and eventually moving to the UK.
Wow. Okay, cool. So born in Australia, moved to the UK.
Born in Ireland, sorry. Born in Ireland and then backpack into Australia.
I'm thinking one thing and saying the other. Born in Ireland, that's where obviously you got the Irish kind of that accent. Australia, backpacking, totally an interesting, cool culture. I'd love you to share a little bit more about that. And then you decided to leave there. How recently were you pursued kind of the move to where you're at now?
Yeah, so I left Australia, I moved to London for 4 years. Then I moved back to Ireland through the company for another 4 years. And 2 years ago, I moved here. So I'm 2 and a bit years in.
So you really are a nomad, if you will. And I say that jokingly, like I don't mean that realistically.
Yeah, no, it's true. Yeah, it's true. Yes.
That's a great thing, though. One thing, if I look at my own story, I recently moved from Buffalo to Philly. It's a 6-hour drive. It's still the States. Honestly, like Western New York and this part of the burbs of Philly are very similar. There's not really a lifestyle change or culture shock or anything like that. A lot of the people I talk to have traveled. And actually, the episode that's coming out on Monday that I just recorded with Laura Patak, she traveled to, I think it was 7 countries, 5 continents, something like that, where she's made an impact and put her footprint. You've obviously been, traveling to different countries and doing your thing. I think that's something that if I could go back, and I still have time, I'm only 39, but like one thing I want to do more, so I'm just going to put it that way. One thing I want to do more is travel, experience the world. This amazing, beautiful planet that we're on. It's not that hard to get around the world, right? As long as you have the means to do it. So it's like make an effort to do it. And if anyone's listening right now who's young, and I say young, like 16, 17, 18, thinking about where they want to go to college, like studying abroad. I've talked to a lot of people who've had incredible experiences, and it taught them a lot about life before they even got in their like career mode. They just got to see different cultures and then appreciate more where they came from, or realize, hey, I don't want to go back to that. After I'm done with college, I actually don't want to go back to where I grew up. I love it and appreciate it from a family standpoint, but like you went to London. You went to experience different areas that were not home. It was a whole new chapter in your life. 4 years in London, right? Now you're in a whole different country. So talk about that from your perspective, because I'm just saying it from mine. I don't have those experiences. But what about for you? Like, would you encourage people to do it now that that's been your life over the last decade or so? What would you encourage people to do if they were to do it, what you did? Like, basically you're saying, don't make the mistakes I made. You can help them alleviate those, but also some of the things you feel you did right that you could share.
Yeah, and to be honest, that's a great question. I like the way you phrase that. Yeah, I 100% agree with that. There's a chapter in my book called Environment Always Wins. And yeah, the environment that you're in is, has a big say, I guess, in where you're going to go. So Australia was backpacking. I didn't really know what I was doing. But there was just sort of a draw to traveling. You watch TV shows when you're younger and you want to go there. So I learned a lot there. I remember there's a story about me and my friends, walking into an apartment, and we didn't realize there was furnished and unfurnished. And we walked in and we're like, where's all the furniture? Little
you guys
like that.
Sign the lease expecting to walk into like fully
exactly,
furnished.
Yeah.
that's
little things like that, and you're sort of, that helps.
It's a pretty big wake up call. Yeah.
It is definitely, yeah. And you don't have mom and dad there, you have to go out and get a job, earn a wage, like budget. We ran out of money, me and my twin, when we were in South America, and we had to borrow from my friend, when we were backpacking through New Zealand before Australia. So
is it your twin brother or twin sister?
Twin brother, yeah. And I have a sister as well, yeah.
Okay. So speaking of brothers, talking about Oasis brothers always feuding, do you and your brother get along pretty well? I'm guessing if you're backpacking together, you're pretty close.
Yeah. We get on very well. Yeah. That's all as well.
Yeah, that's what brothers are supposed to be. And
exactly.
I actually, for my 40th birthday, I just booked it last night. I got an Airbnb for Tampa. I'm going to go hang out with my brother. And him and I were very close growing up and everything. And now that we're separated in distance, we haven't been as close, but we never aren't close. We still text and keep in touch, and he knows what's going on in my life. I know what's going on in his, but that hang out with your brother moment that, you should have more often. I want to make that happen more frequently. So I said for my 40th, I'm coming down. One of my favorite comedians, Harlan Williams, is going to be performing in Tampa. So I'm excited. We're going to go down and catch that and just have some fun for a few days. So backpacking with your brother. And speaking of backpacking, we kind of ran through the Wim Hof part of the story. Like, when did you know what you were getting yourself into? That guy's intense, right? So I don't know if anybody knows him, but Google Wim Hof. Was it WIMHOF?
Yeah.
Right? God, share the story there.
Yeah. So Wim Hof, for anyone that doesn't know him, he's a Dutch daredevil, I would classify him as. Basically, he had an unfortunate story that his wife, unfortunately, she was sort of mentally ill and committed suicide, unfortunately, and then he was left with sort of maybe 3 or 4 of his kids, and he had to try and find ways to earn money. So he would start doing these things like submerging himself in ice for sort of a world record amount of time. He climbed Mount Everest in a pair of shorts, and he quickly found that you can heal your immune system through the cold and through breathing. So super interesting guy. The first time I heard of him was in Tim Ferriss's book, Tools of Titans.
It's
and he talked about it's an amazing book. And Wim Hof was on one page, and he talked about this guy who, like, at one point, like, swam under ice cold water and his retina froze. Like, he just said this guy was crazy, and he talked about the breathing. So I didn't think much of it. And then I went to Vegas for work, and when I landed back in London, like, I had a slip disc in my back. I don't know what it was, the flight, what happened, working out too much in the gym. But then I went to loads of different physios, and no one was really solving the problem. But there was one physio who was very much focused on my breathing, and he said that, like, I'm too tensed and I should learn my breathing, and it was starting to work. And then he said, do you know who Wim Hof is? And I said, yeah, I've heard of him. He basically said he changed my whole practice. So after that physio session, I Googled Wim Hof London, and he was actually coming to London like the next week or so forth.
Fate.
Yeah, which fate, exactly. And I went to this seminar with him, and it said, you know, bring your shorts and yoga mat. And I thought, this is cool. So the first session with him, like, there was maybe 50 of us, he taught us the science of breathing. We did breathing. I pretty much, like, tripped out, you know, get high in your own supply is what he says.
Yeah.
And I was just very much filled with gratitude. And then he taught us how to do the breathing when we got in the ice cold water. And when I went in that ice bath, I felt like my back healed. I wanted to get out instantly, but then he told us sort of how to get our breath under control, like focus on long exhales. And then I started getting really into this. I started, like, gamifying it, like having cold showers and messaging my friends, like, cold shower done, you know, turning the water on to cold for the last, like, 30, 60 seconds. And the way Wim Hof puts it is, like, the ice water or the cold is, like, almost like a metaphor for your life, for stress. Like, almost doing that prepares you for the day ahead, because nothing else is going to beat having an ice bath or going into a cold shower. And even doing the breathing as well. Like, I found even in my sales work, or if incidents happened, like coffee spilt on my laptop, one of my colleagues said to me, how are you not freaking out right now? And it was because I've been able to breathe. And it's called, like, surrender. When you go into the cold water, you have to surrender to it. Like, you can't fight it. So there's really nice metaphors for life. And anyways, during COVID, or just before COVID, I went to Poland with Wim Hof for a week, and it was one of the best weeks of my life. Climbing a mountain at the end.
Is that where he has like maybe 10 or 12 guys? And I don't know how you get selected to be in that group, but kind of climb a mountain, do like natural cold plunges. I've seen that, where they're like on the side of the mountain and they sit in a body of water and are freezing there. So you did that. How'd you get in there? If you don't mind sharing.
So no, I mean, there's sometimes he takes, like, celebrities. I'm not a celebrity yet. Maybe I will be, but no.
Well,
I mean,
after you're on this show, I mean, we're right now. I think we got about 50 million people tuning in. No, I'm just
one day. But no, you can basically pay for it. So there's maybe, like, between 50 to 100 people, and he'll have, like, 4 or 5 different instructors, and you're there for a week. You're in a cabin in Poland, and there's a different sort of activity every day. Like, could be yoga, could be breathing, going into the ice cold water. But he prepares you for it. Like, one day it might be like 2-3 minutes, the next day 10 minutes. And at the end, you climb the mountain in nothing but a pair of shorts, and it's a silent walk up the mountain. Like, it's maybe 3 or 4 hours, and you're just focusing on your breath, and, like, you don't even feel the cold, which is crazy. The only reason we felt the cold is when we reached the top of the mountain, there was a local Polish person who couldn't start his car. So we had to break our sort of walking pact, and people had to help push the car. And then you realize it's freezing. Like, what are we doing here? But it's just all mindset.
So when you're in that breathing kind of mechanism, if you will, like, it changes the operation and the function of, like, if your body doesn't feel it as much. I've never done a cold plunge. It's something I'm interested in. I have done the colder showers, or, like you said, turn it cold for the last few seconds, 30 seconds. Don't do it every day, but it's something I've done to kind of, like, wake up your system. But when you're in there, so you've experienced it. You're walking with a group of dudes, all doing kind of the same breathing, and you just kind of zone out. You're almost in like how does that feel? Explain that.
So to be honest, when you first go in there, like, and it doesn't get easier, you just potentially get stronger, but every experience is very different.
You're talking about the plunge right now, like how it feels
about the ice bath, like I mean, when you're in the ice water, so like you go in there and everything in your body is telling you get out, and I guess all the blood circulates to your heart to protect your heart, so the rest of you is absolutely freezing. But once you start to focus on your breath and you do the long exhales, you almost like, it's like you're breathing fire, so breathe the fire out. You start to settle, and all of a sudden you calm yourself down. You realize, like, actually I can do this, and then you start to enjoy it. And at some point you actually have a lot of gratitude. Like, gratitude was flowing through me when I was in Poland, looking around at the nature, and like thankfully
it almost
I'm
like
here, you know?
Quite literally freezes you in time to like stop looking at your phone. You're not scrolling your phone while you're in there. You're not thinking about all the things in the day that can go wrong, or you're not stressed out about all this other stuff, or reading through emails or working on proposals for clients. You're in the moment, and the most important thing is to breathe, properly breathe, get your heart centered right there. And then that's where gratitude just kind of overflows. It's almost like you're allowing it to come in. You're thinking about, oh, I'm just so grateful to be alive right now. I'm grateful. All the positive moments come in right there. And then let me ask you this. Does it get any easier the more you do it? Like anything in life, the more practice, it gets a little easier? Or is that first time you put your first foot in that water, no matter what, it's always pretty shocking?
It's always pretty shocking, to be honest, but because you've done it before, that you'll get through it. And yeah, you just get better, but you
get to that moment quicker. Like you get to that, you said it's almost like you enjoy it because you know it's there, you expect it. So it's hop in the water. It's going to suck for the first 10 seconds, but then you get to that, you start breathing, you start to feel that warmth, like you said, the warm air coming out, your heart being protected, and you can kind of know that, what would you call it, Zen? You kind of get to that Zen moment quicker because you identified it, right? That makes sense.
Exactly. Yeah. You start to recognize the pattern, and you get to that position a bit quicker.
And people have ice baths at home now. I mean, they're doing it right out of their backyard. Again, you could do this in your shower. It's kind of the easiest way to do it, but it's not the same experience, correct? If you're just because you got to be submerged to really feel that whole thing where you're breathing
to
through
really
it.
feel it.
Yeah,
and there's like a story in the book that when I go in the ice bath, sometimes my shoulders will be up like that, and he sort of, the instructor is always like, just relax, put the shoulders down, and I can almost feel the relief. And I take that into, like, when I do presentations, I now tell myself, like, put your shoulders down, relax. Yeah, which is pretty cool.
Which is relaxed, but you're putting them in that cold water. So it's like you're kind of like putting them in an uncomfortable environment, but reminding yourself, I have control.
Yeah, exactly.
It sounds like
exactly.
I'm going to do the harder thing, but it's going to be better for me. Just chill out. No pun intended. Just relax, breathe.
Exactly.
Breathe. Yeah. That's really good. It's a good way to get centered. If you can get centered in that moment, then I think in front of a crowd or an audience, you could just kind of remember, let's get centered there. It's again, I'm just speaking kind of through your experience here, and I'd love to do this myself, but it just seems like you get one with yourself. All the noise is gone because your body's literally in survival mode. So you can tap. Now, do you feel yourself tap into that? Like you said, in the middle of a presentation, you can kind of turn that on a little bit?
Yeah, 100%. And I think, to be honest, when you look at Wim Hof, the marketing is sort of the cold water, but the real substance is the breathing. So he has like a particular breathing technique, which I do every morning now, because even just for 10 minutes, it just settles me into my day. I just feel calm, cool, and collected. And once again, gratitude and just being very thankful just relaxes me, to be honest. And you could do that before a presentation as well, easily.
So all these cool experiences, I mean, the Tony Robbins moment, the Wim Hof moment, backpacking with your brother, moving to all these different countries, having an experience you mentioned at an organization where things are going south pretty fast, it sounds like. Is this what all led you to write the book, or were there other things that we haven't talked about yet? Were there some key moments that we didn't get to? I mean, you write Built by Lessons. When did the light bulb go off? Like, I'm going to take my past and I'm going to turn it into a book.
Yeah, so funny enough, when I've wrote two books. So there was an ebook before this, but it was all based on theory of just when I was leaving Australia. And then the trajectory after Australia was joining a company from a very junior position, and then, you know, making the international moves, doing the public speaking, actually winning two public speaking competitions and work in front of the CEO. I mean, this was in front of like 2,000 salespeople that we had to get through in order to win the competition, and then making the move here. So I just felt like it was 10 years since I left Australia. So it was almost like reverse engineering. Actually, what did I do to get to this position? Because at 27, I left Australia and I literally I had no money. Like, I had no pension, nothing. Like, I left there with $0 sort of in the bank account. So it was just reverse engineering everything.
You had a lot of dollars in your experience account, though. And that's the thing that I think a lot of people forget is, man, I did all this stuff and financially I'm not ahead. But hey, you learned a lot of things while you're there. You'll learn things you don't want to do again. And that's a huge lesson. Yeah. And a lot of times those are the best lessons, because I just saw one of my friends and mentor posted a video the other day. He was interviewed by someone and they're like, explain like a life lesson, because how do you get wealthy and how do you build this like incredible wealth that you have? And he basically said, you know, if you're walking in the woods and you step in bear crap, that's a bad day. That stinks, right? That sucks. He goes, but if you walk back home and you walk and step in the bear crap again, now you're an idiot, right? He's like, that's my biggest lesson I could tell you is you learn from your mistakes and you don't make them twice. And so like your whole thing saying, man, I was in Australia for all that time. I had $0 gained, but you learned a lot of things not to step in it the second time. When you moved, you made new decisions based on your previous ones.
Yeah, and my mother frames it like it was the school of hard knocks. Like, that's what I went through in Australia. And it's almost like now I view it as a gift. At the time, I was like, you're thinking, oh, my other friends are in all these big companies. People are way, way ahead of me, et cetera, et cetera. But actually falling flat in my face in Australia was the best thing that could have ever happened to me, in all honesty. So I actually use it as a gift now that was given to me.
And in the book too, speaking of that, you mentioned Destiny of Helpers. I kind of peeked it and previewed it a little bit. Destiny of Helpers got my attention. So share like some of the mentors that you had. Who were some of the people who did help shape your path?
Yeah, 100%. And like there was definitely people in Australia that helped. But I almost feel like the Tony Robbins was a form of a destiny helper. When I moved to London, I was lucky enough to, you know, get into this company, and I felt like people there just took me under their wing. Now I had to go and meet them and ask them questions and take them for coffees, but I always felt like there was people who were just there to sort of bring me along. Like if they saw me not doing well on a sales call, they'd come over and they'd give me advice. And there was just so many people like that, even in my personal life as well. Your family, friends, whoever it may be.
You were a sponge to all of that, huh?
Literally, yeah. My wife sort of coins the term, so to speak, destiny helpers, rather than like mentors or anything like that, because I'm very spiritually led. I feel like I've been almost pulled, you know, to the UK, then to Ireland, then to here. And I just seem to find really cool people, because I think if you're open to things like getting that ticket from my brother, someone told me before, like, we're all antennas and you have to be sort of open to receiving things. So you sort of have to say yes, and you meet great people along the way.
Absolutely. I think a great place to be in life is you want to be a few steps ahead of the people that you're teaching, so you can help bring them up to your level. And that's in anything. Like if you're playing a sport or you're a podcaster and you want to help other people learn how to podcast, like if you're a few steps ahead of them, you can teach them. And then and like you're a sales professional who teaches other people the I don't want to say game of sales, that might make it sound wrong, but that whole, you and I understand sales in a way where it is kind of a sport in itself in a good way. But when you're further ahead, you're someone who has a lot of experience, a lot of success. Now you can help other people who are getting into sales, been in it, you know, they're in it for a few years now. They want to like take it to the next level. But at the same time, you want to have people that you're hanging out with that are a few steps ahead of you. So naturally you can learn from them. And most of the time they're going to want to bring you up. They're like, hey, Gary, like hang with me and I'll teach you some of these cool things. And then family, that's a great support as well. And from what I've experienced, and maybe yours is different, but family is great, but at the same time, they don't have the same experiences we have. So a lot of times you might have to take it with a grain of salt, as they say, like, if mom's giving you some encouragement, that's great. But if she's telling you to do something in business, not knowing your business, it's kind of like you appreciate it, but you want to get a mentor in your business in that specific thing that you're doing. And that's going to be a valuable person, even your brother, right? And I see you're shaking your head. Those that are watching on YouTube, getting more of a visual cue on that. But did you feel that same thing in your experience where you had to kind of be mindful of who you're getting your advice from?
Yeah, 100%. Because you have mentors in like your health, your wealth, love, and fulfillment. And the way some people put it is like you wouldn't ask your single mates for like marriage advice as an example, or people who aren't financially sort of, I guess, well off in a way. You wouldn't ask them for business advice, so to speak.
You wouldn't ask me for advice on how to get a six-pack because I don't have one right now. So exactly. But you might ask me on like, how do I launch my podcast and put it all together and turn it into social media content? Boom. And someone can come to you and say like, hey, I'm looking to take my sales game from amateur to like, I want to be a President's Circle winner or President's Club every year. They work with you, they can achieve that, right? So I think that's really good for anyone tuning in right now to remember it's important to get mentors. I've made the mistake, and I'm just saying this candidly, where I've hired people, great coaches, great friends, and I've, like really relied on them for their coaching, or really like opened up to them, I should say, for their coaching, and they were great. But I was trying to get help in growing and scaling my very specific podcast agency that neither of the people I've gotten coaching from have done. And it's not a knock on them. They were great with mindset and helping me out with like time management and some of the things I struggled with. But when it came to scaling the agency, I now have mentors and coaches that have done it before. That's like the gym. You want six-pack abs, you go to the guy who's done it and consistently helped other people do it. So that right there, I think, is a great key takeaway from our conversation so far for our audience to realize, get the mentor, do things that are uncomfortable, get in the ice bath. You don't have to do the bath, but start with the shower, get your body going. And when you're uncomfortable, you could focus. Gratitude is so important, right? I love learning. When I learned this, it was great. You cannot be angry and mad and depressed and sad at the same time when you're grateful. Like when you have gratitude and you're in the moment, those two things cannot exist at the same time. If it's genuine, when you're genuine in a moment of gratitude, it's like bliss. And so when you get uncomfortable and you get yourself focused and thinking about the things that you really care about in life, it's super important. So we got a lot more I want to talk about in your story. It's being mindful of your time. What I want to let everybody know is they can check out socialchameleon.us. We got to give some love to our sponsors. Social Chameleon is my company. Transform your podcast. You go to socialchameleon.us. You can learn how we can launch your show. If you have an existing show, we can help you make it even better. It's professional audio, video quality. We cut up all your social media or all your podcast content into social media content so people can find it. And we also do this now too. We help you connect with great guests, just like having Gary on your show. So we help you get the right guests on your show to help you grow your business, because we in particular work with B2B clients. So socialchameleon.us. Also, we're recording this on riverside.fm, and riverside.fm is one of our affiliates. So we love them, but I don't promote any product, Gary, that I don't believe in or use myself. I started using Riverside a couple years ago. Previously, I used another video software. I'm not going to mention them or talk bad about them, but it wasn't as good of an experience. The quality of audio and video is way better on Riverside, so that's why I made the switch. And then once I made the switch, I'm like, I want to tell everybody about it, right? And then lastly, we do all of our distribution through Libsyn.com, and it's Libsyn.com. And that's how we get the show on Apple and Spotify and all the great podcast apps that you can be tuning in. So those are our sponsors and affiliates. So appreciate you guys. Back to the show here. Gary, you have set ambitious goals. I'm seeing what you're doing on LinkedIn. I'm following you there. You've achieved some incredible milestones. So I want to kind of get inside your brain real quick. What's the process that you have personally for setting and pursuing goals and always pushing the limits? You're constantly pushing yourself forward.
Yeah, great question. I think, when I joined, say, the sales company as an example, like the career goals almost took care of themselves. Like I would see some people like smashing the sales gong, and then I would simply go up and ask them, like, what's this about? Why are you hitting that sales gong? And they'd tell me I closed the deal for, as an example, like 25K, and the big sales gong was 50K. So then I would write down, okay, I hit the sales gong by whatever date it could be. I saw some people wearing these really cool jackets, and it had like $1 million jacket written on it. I asked them, how did you get that? They said, we did $1 million quarter, which back in the day was not an easy thing to hit. Yeah. So then I wrote that down as a goal. So it was all those little things. So like inspiration was around me, and it could be, you might watch a TV show as an example. It could be when I moved to London, I wrote like about getting a girlfriend as an example. And then I found my wife. So I think it's just finding inspiration. It could be anywhere. But so
let's pause that, Gary, because you said you wrote down what you were journaling of some sort. You got mindful of you're looking for the right partner. So what did you do in that moment? You wrote down the specific descriptors of what a great partner would look like. So your brain then was kind of on the lookout for that, because there's a real thing called the reticular activating system in our brain. Have you heard of it? The RAS in our brain. Yeah, I'm sure you did. Tony Robbins talks about it. Ed Milet, some of the great people you mentioned. I don't know about Brian Tracy, but I'm sure he does. And it's basically the part of our brain that focuses on the things that we're, if you just buy a new car, you start to see that brand in the same color and the same type of car you have, but they were on the road all this time, but your brain wasn't solving for it until now you're thinking about it. It's top of mind. It's important to you, right? So you started to create these descriptors, and there probably were women around you that would have been a good partner for you in the past, but you weren't thinking about it. And once you started to focus on it, you then met your wife.
Yes, literally. Yeah. She did the same thing as well. So she actually wrote it down very descriptively. So, yeah.
Boom, guys, right there. That's a mic drop moment. I don't want you to look further than that. Like, if you have something in life right now that you want to achieve, we're talking about goals. It could be relationship. It could be business. You're never going to get there if you don't understand exactly what you want. And that's numbers too. Like, I want to go from 250,000 in sales to $1 million. Okay, is it just $1 million? What's the exact number you need to operate, right? To pay your team, your operating expenses, your taxes, and have X amount of savings to cover your bills. Like, one of my mentors in the past, he said to me, he's like, well, how much do you need, like, to take care of everything? And then you can save $1. And like, he's like, don't give me a roundabout number. I want the exact number, because how are you going to know how much you need to save? And I'm like, that's a good point. I don't know exactly how much I need. So you got to get specific. That's I wanted to pause you in your story to let our audience know the importance of being specific. So then from there, I'm sorry, I interrupted your story. You met your wife, so life was starting to pick up, and your people in sales were hitting, what was it, $250,000? And so you'd stop them and say, hey, how'd you get this?
Yeah, exactly. So the way I do goals is like health, wealth, love, and fulfillment, which there's a personal trainer who's like a podcaster. He splits his goals into that. So I took inspiration from that. And then I generally write my goals like once a year, and I do a check-in with a couple of guys that I know. And every month we'll just go, here's how we're rating our goals this year. So like, have I wrote the book? Like, yes, I've wrote a couple of chapters. So that was one of the goals last year as an example. Or it could be investments. It could be like spending time doing an event, whatever it may be, taking my wife out for dinner, going to a destination, whatever it may be. And then just being accountable to other people for this. And then you could start to critique, in a good way, sort of, oh, hey, you're rating your like love goals as a 2. Like, why don't you go to this restaurant? Or your financial goals are, really good. Like, how can I take inspiration from that? So simple things, really.
Are you coaching people in that, or you're saying you got that coaching?
No, so, well, I actually invested in a coach about maybe 2 years ago who's an Irish guy over here in Dubai called Aidan O'Brien, who's fantastic. And I'm now starting to do coaching myself. So I'm doing a coaching diploma. So I'm literally in the middle of that now. I'm halfway through. So that's eventually, cool, I guess, where I want to go.
It's another great lesson for our audience is that great performers, peak performers in sales and business, the top athletes in any sport, they all have something in common. They have coaches. The best people in the world at what they do have coaches because they're always looking to get better, always looking to get better, but also like to stay at a high level, you have to consistently be working on things. And a coach is like a mirror, right? Like, so you're seeing yourself, but rather than just video, you could record yourself doing it and say, oh, I'm learning from that. That's great. But a coach can also give you that next level, right? They're a little bit further ahead, or they've seen things, or they know how to pull the right things out of you, right? And so when we're uncomfortable, it might be easy for us to turn it off for a moment, or to back down for a moment, or cool off again. And a coach is going to push us to that one extra level, a little bit at a time, right? So the best of the best have coaches. So if you're right now contemplating like, I don't think I need a coach or whatever, I could do this flying solo in life, having that partnership with a great mentor is super important. Yeah. What would you say? There's a lot of people tuning in right now that may be struggling. They're in business. They're kind of like, it's not working out. They keep trying. They know in their heart it's the thing they want to do. They're struggling. Maybe they start to get a little bit of imposter syndrome. We talk about that quite a bit on the show. Limiting beliefs. Have you ever experienced that personally, and how have you worked through some of those limiting beliefs yourself?
Yeah, 100%. I think we all have limiting beliefs to a certain extent. And I think genuinely investing in yourself, like we talked about the coaching there. I mean, I asked this question to the coach about like, will I ever get rid of self-doubt? And he mentioned about the man in the arena who's swinging the bat. Like if you're constantly swinging the bat, you're always going to have self-doubt. You're always going to have imposter syndrome. But that just means that you're playing the game. The minute that you put down the bat and sit in the crowd, your self-doubt and limiting beliefs will go away. And that actually isn't a good thing, So these are actually good things. It maybe shows that you're on the way to improvement. And like you mentioned earlier, like the only way to get better is to learn from the best. And it doesn't have to be, paying for a coach. It could be paying for a program. Like when I first went into sales, it was $24 on a cold calling course. It could be attending a free seminar as an example.
Right.
So there's so many different ways. Yeah.
Or a lot of times a company, I've worked for some good companies in the past where they hook you up with a mentor. They're like, this guy's been doing it for 30 years. And sometimes you can get someone who's a little bit stubborn and kind of like, why should I help the young kid in the office? But usually they don't give those guys mentorship roles, right? Like I've been in offices where there's people who are crushing it and they're willing to help. And there's people who are crushing it that are like, screw you. I'm you're not coming for my cut of the pie. And it's like, well, dude, there's a lot. The whole world is our ability to sell to. And you're worried about me stepping on your territory. It's like, that's a kind of a small thinking mindset, right? Like, yeah. But the great people, I've had great people who they're crushing it and doing really well, and they're still happy to help you out. So,
yeah, I was just going to add there, like there's this great story. So there's a guy called Grant Cardone, who I did all of his sales programs. And there was one day where I found out that he has a twin brother, and I lived in London and his twin brother lived in London at the same time. And I just happened to see him on Twitter, and I DM'd him on Twitter thinking nothing would come of it. And he arranged basically to meet me. So I went to a hotel to meet him. I basically said, I'm thinking of investing in your Grant Cardone's investment portfolio. So he met me for 30 minutes. And I'll always remember
This
one
was
of
Grant's
the guys,
brother that met you, right?
Grant's twin, Gary
Yeah,
Cardone,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And basically there was a guy with him because he's a very successful guy. And he's like a mentor to me now. But one of his team was almost like, why are you meeting this guy? And he said there's almost like a lack of the apprentice and the master at the moment in the world. So he's very much into giving back. And what was a 30-minute meeting basically went to like 3 hours because he had other cancellations. So the point being is like, don't make assumptions sometimes about these successful people, especially probably people who are a bit older. Like they do want to give back. If you ask them, if you're curious, and even in The Pursuit of Happiness, there's a scene with Will Smith where he sees a guy driving a Ferrari and he says 2 questions like, what do you do and how can I do it? And like magic happens when you ask a question, and I've had that throughout my life.
Most successful people I've noticed have, the ones who really do it and they're driven, they're passionate, they want to help other people. And I mean, you sent a DM on Twitter, it could have gone nowhere. Maybe he doesn't see it. But most of the people who would get that and actually see it would want to help, whether it's a quick phone call or just send you some information, send you a book, a resource, a tool, or in this case, hey, let's meet up. You're actually in the same city I'm in. I'm at this hotel, come in for a cup of coffee, and it turns into 3 hours. I do believe in that, and I've had people do the same thing for me, maybe on a virtual call or whatnot. But yeah, a lot of the quote unquote untouchable people or whatnot, it's not true. They want to help. I mean, there's a certain level of they have to be smart and protect themselves so they're not meeting with everybody who sends them a DM. But they typically can easily weed out, hey, this Gary guy, he's real. Like look at what he's doing. He wants a little bit of a lift up. And if I can help him and just talk to him for a moment, that's going to mean the world to this kid. Let's do it, And I think most of the great people who are successful in business will do that. And so that's another great takeaway for our audience is don't be afraid to reach up to someone and say, hey, maybe can I pick your brain for a little while? Because the guy in the Ferrari would be happy to do that. Because he knows when he was 18, 19, 20, 25 years old, he would have loved to get information from someone who's where he is today and probably didn't have it. So now he can give something to someone that he wasn't able to get. And that's where people, I think, really love to mentor, where they're like, oh, I wish I could have gotten this, Same thing 100%. With parenting. You appreciate your parents, good, bad, and ugly. If they ever did something that you didn't like, then you can change that when you're a parent to your own kids. You're like, hey, I love my dad, but he did this thing that I didn't like or whatever, or he used to say this thing or punish us for this reason. So maybe I'm a little lighter on my kids there. Or I appreciate it now. I'm, in my 30s, I can look back and say I'm grateful that he was tougher on me because it's for X, Y, Z reasons it worked out. I'm going to make sure I put my foot down with my kids, right? So it's the same kind of idea as we want to help people. And from our past experiences, we can change things we don't like. We can double down on the things that worked out really well. And that's kind of why we're reaching out to mentors. And many of them are happy to take that call. Yeah. So one thing we haven't talked about, and it's not like I was dancing around it, but you've been successful in sales, but we haven't really talked about in what way. So, or what products you're selling or what company. So can you share a little bit about like what you're actually doing? And maybe it's your moment to pat yourself on the back a little bit. And I know you're not here to do that, but I'm giving you the floor to kind of share that with the audience right now.
Yeah, sure. So I work for, I guess, like they're one of the biggest technology companies in the world. And we sell sort of cloud networking and sort of collaboration, security, a whole different array of portfolios of products. And really, I started off like as a junior salesperson, so which was a blessing in disguise because when I initially tried to join, I tried a higher position, but I was told that was probably a little bit too senior. So I started off junior and I learned the groundwork, and then I didn't really know about these products. I didn't have a passion for them, but I had a commitment, and then commitment actually leads to passion. So now I'm very passionate about what I sell. And the longer you're in a company, you hear the other salespeople talk and you ask the technical people, what does this mean? You start to sort of get a little bit better with the technology. And Yeah, I've worked my way up the ranks, and it's an amazing company to work for. The culture is great. The people are fantastic. So it's been an amazing journey, and almost 10 years actually with the company, on and off.
What's the specific service again?
So basically we provide, like, the world is moving into like digital transformation. So we provide like the digital plumbing for a business through like their Wi-Fi, as an example. So when you go into an airport and you're connecting to the Wi-Fi, that would be us.
Okay, so you're doing like networking, stuff like that.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Networking from a technical standpoint, not, hey, we're meeting up at a BNI meeting, which is great too.
Exactly.
We talk about that on the show, but so you're doing like the digital networking, Wi-Fi, some of the, the IT for that situation. Very cool.
Yeah, like connectivity, like helping schools, like when they load their lessons, all that good stuff.
Okay, very cool. And so I want you to deliver, we'll put like kind of a exclamation on the end of the conversation, and anything else you want to share, I'm happy to do that. But I want this to be like kind of a good sales takeaway, because you're successful there. That's really your forte. Again, you're the sales guy. You have the sales abs. So I'm going to ask you, how do I get sales abs, right? I'm not going to ask somebody else in the office who's great at service, but they're kind of not so confident in sales. We're coming to you for sales. So what are three things that you do almost, let's not say almost, what are three things you do every time in a sales consultation that allow you to be successful?
Okay, so if there's three things, discovery, first of all, is the key one, right? So there's this sort of famous thing about like, sell me this pen. And I experienced that when I was looking for a job in Australia, and they asked me to sell me this pen, and I just made up everything. I told them the pen was magic. I started just vomiting, basically, in terms of like the verbiage that was coming out, the wording. And I didn't ask them any questions. So the trick to that is like discovery. Like, so, okay,
right.
How long have you been in the market for a pen? What was the last pen that you have? What do you use the pen for? That type of thing. So understanding why the customer would want.
I got to ask you, did you not get the job?
No, I didn't get the job.
Okay.
No.
I remember I had the same situation. They said, sell me this piece of gum. And I don't remember what I said, but I think I did ask him more about like, what kind of gum do you like and stuff like that. So, hey, there you go. I ended up getting the job, not, but I'm just teasing with you. All right. So discovery is huge. I worked for a big organization, Fortune 500 company. And the first thing they taught me on day one was discovery process. And I did it every single time. So you're 1,000% right. I agree with you. Discovery is so important. Who are you talking to? Why are they talking to you? What do they need? Why are they here? What's their experience level with the product already? Are they a referral, right? Have they had something similar? Yeah, you got to, all those questions. Absolutely agree. And then from discovery, what are a couple other things you do that, set you up for the highest level of success?
Yeah, so, and this is coming from a book. It's called The Qualified Sales Leader, I believe. Someone asked, like, what's the difference between discovery and qualification? And discovery is looking for the news. Qualification is looking for the bad news. So, like, actually being prepared to challenge the customer and going like, why don't you just stay with the service that you have now? Because you don't want to waste their time. They don't want to waste your time. So it's actually asking hard questions rather than maybe tiptoeing around it. I think that would be probably the second one I put there.
So what you're saying there is kind of revealing if there's an issue, a problem, or maybe they're not the right fit even, instead of tiptoeing around it and try to like put a square in a round peg kind of thing. You're like, hey, why are you here looking at this particular thing if it sounds like this isn't really what you need or want or something like that? And then you let them put it in their own words, like, yeah, maybe you're right. I don't even want this thing, right? Is that just it's like you're weeding out a qualified lead, like in real time?
Yeah, it's a bit like, it's a go or no go. Like, should I continue investing my time, and should they continue investing their time in me? Because they might find out that, this isn't really a fit, so to speak. So yeah, I think it's just challenging them because you have so many other things that you can do.
I think that's highly ethical as well. It's like there's a way of thinking, I'm going to sell this product to everybody and anybody I talk to, I'm just going to figure out a way, like you were talking about with the sell me the pen, this, that, and the other thing, and you're trying to just make it work, and I'm going to sell it no matter what. But that person you're talking to, if you say, this may not be the right thing for you, let's figure that out. That the ethical conversation there is like, hey, he's listening to me, wants me to make the best decision for me. And even if that means I don't get that product and he's, feels that's the right decision, then that's awesome. Then now there's more trust, right? But again, you're doing it for the right reason. You're getting to the bottom of it. I think that's great advice as well. And then kind of what about the third or fourth or whatever you may feel kind of to round it out?
I think the third one, to be honest, is I read a book recently and it said one of the rules, it was called the 4 agreements. One of them was like being impeccable with your word. And that's something I'm really like passionate about now, is like, actually, if I say something, I'll do it. But also if I don't know the answer, I have to just put up my hands and go, oh, look, that's a great question. I don't know it. Let me get back to you on this. And actually then getting back to someone, or if you can't do something, just being completely transparent that you can't do it. For me, once again, goes back to the ethical point that you made there.
That's really good too. To admit when you don't have the answer, opposed to bullshitting and giving a fake answer. That's the most frustrating thing. If you're buying something and you ask your sales rep a question and they just say something but doesn't seem right, then you do your homework, it's wrong. Now everything else they said you got to kind of throw out. You're like, I don't know what they told me, a lot of things I don't know about, and now I kind of caught them in a lie. It's the same thing in a relationship. You're on a couple dates, things are good, you catch them in a lie. You're like, damn, all the 2-3 great dates we had, I don't know what was real, what's fake. It's you lose the whole thing. Talked about trust a lot. We talk about on the show, like it takes forever to really gain it, and a lot of time and effort and doing the right things over and over consistently. You said something important a second ago. You back up the things that you say you're going to do. You actually do them. Huge in a relationship, huge in sales. Say you're going to do something. Hey, I'll call you Thursday at noon. We'll go through the proposal. Thursday, it's 4:00 at night. Person's like, where the hell are you? Oh, I got caught up here. I got caught up there. You're already falling through. They didn't even buy from you yet. You're already falling through on deliverables. So yeah, being consistent, backing up your word. And that's going to allow your prospect to now just appreciate you. You're solid. They can trust you. They can rely on you. And if you don't know the answer, you go get it. They know, hey, this person, they're human. And he wants to get the right answer for me. So then you might leave for a moment, come back, say, hey, I got exactly what we're looking for. Let's do this, this, and this. I'm going to add one. Sales is something I absolutely love, and I did very well with a few organizations I was at. The biggest thing at the retail store I ran, I was a store manager for Sleep Number. The one thing I did that allowed me to be most successful over some of the other people I've seen, and it's not like I'm trying to say I was better or anything like that, but just one thing I know that I'll speak for myself, allowed me to be successful. Every single person I did a presentation for got a proposal. I don't like to call it a quote even, because to me a quote's a number. Here's the price. You can get that off of the book. Here's the book, there's the price, see you later. For me, it's a proposal. The proposal included everything we talked about in discovery, in your hot buttons, in your story, in the presentation. Everything that was discussed, I included on a proposal. And I say, hey, you mentioned, you and your husband, again, for me, it was mattresses. So you sleep at, different temperatures, and he likes this. So now I have some temperature balancing sheets and bedding on there. You mentioned when you were a side sleeper, you talk about your neck hurting. I got the side sleeper pillow on there. So now your proposal has all the things that I listened to. And so you're building a solution. It's not really just a sale at that point. And then, everybody got one, right? Because when I saw people missing sales, and I was, as a store manager, it was my responsibility to figure out why. I'm like, you didn't even present a proposal to that person. You just kind of gave them a price, and sometimes you didn't even catch their information. They can come in tomorrow and buy from me, and it's legit. I get the sale. You didn't capture anything. So the one thing that allows, I'm saying this to our audience right now, is like, make sure you put a proposal together, Now you have a chance that they see everything you talked about and they have a chance of buying it, because you have a 0% chance when you don't present a proposal. Like, what if they would have said yes? You just gave them a pamphlet with a number on it and said, let me know when you're ready. They could have said, I'm ready right now. Let's go. So present the proposal. Anything else you want to add? Sales conversation, part of your story, journey. We know who's listening right now. It's entrepreneurs, people who are looking to level up in life. Maybe they're in sales and they want to start a business. They're maybe a little nervous about it. There's a ton of different people tuning in right now. What would you like to share from your own personal story that you're like, hey man, I have this experience and I want to tell you about it so you don't make this mistake, or I did this thing that worked really well. I want you to do it and run with it. What comes to mind 100%. When I just said? What comes to mind when I just said that? Public speaking. Public
speaking comes to mind. Yeah. So, and this is a story in the book. And basically, I was never, and still probably am, the most natural public speaker out there, and a lot of people aren't. So I'd sweated through a suit in university, and I went bright red, and I left the presentation after I presented because I had sweated through the suit. And then when I started in sales, I noticed like that the really top people were like very good public speakers, and I thought there must be something to this. And I found Toastmasters then, and Toastmasters, as you may know, is this like international sort of community, and you'll have it everywhere, no matter what state in the US, even in Galway in Ireland, where I'm from, everywhere has this, where you learn to speak in front of strangers. And when I first started going to that, I signed up for something called a table topic, and basically you're signing your life away. So they call you up and they're like, okay, Gary, you're going to speak in front of everyone here. Why should Ant-Man win an Oscar? Go. And then they set the timer, and I'd never seen Ant-Man. I didn't know what to say. Once again, I'm freaking out. I'm talking too much, and I'm not breathing properly. I'm sweating. Then when I sit down, they sort of tell you, okay, you did this well. You could have improved on this. Then you see the next people speak, and they could be in Toastmasters for longer than me. And I see that there's a structure. There's a beginning, a middle, and an end. Some people engage the audience, like, who here has seen Ant-Man? You could just tell a story like, look, I've never seen Ant-Man, but I know that Phoebe's boyfriend from Friends was in this. And you could say anything, right?
Build a story around why that great actor or whatever. Yeah, that's funny.
Exactly. But you start getting the structure, and then eventually as you keep going to it, then you're put into other positions, like you talk for 10 minutes about yourself in front of everyone. So you're learning how to tell stories, you're learning how to stick to time. And what I found that did for me in sales was, when I went into an interview, they could ask me a question, and the question might throw me, but I have the structure of how to respond to that. Maybe I flip the question back on them. Maybe I, tell a story, whatever it may be. So it just gave me more confidence. And even among your own peers, like, people get nervous when they have to tell a story about a deal that they won. Like, it teaches you how to, I guess, understand how to speak in those scenarios. And this is how I won the pitching competition then in front of the CEO, from the guy who was sweating in the suit. And then when I did my wedding speech, that was easy. And I had no notes for my wedding speech, spoke for 10 minutes.
That's from the heart right there. I mean, that's like,
exactly.
You're just being yourself. But also it's important you had experience in public speaking, so don't overtalk, be cool, confident, collected, and deliver. And that would be really great to see that, that moment on your wedding day. But the Ant-Man thing, was that a real story, or was that just a random example?
No, that was the scenario I got. Yeah.
So,
and I
kind of butchered it. Talk one last thing while I got you. The pitch competition. Walk us through what that was, and how did you win it? Like, what were some of the core things you did? A lot of people are going to be needing to pitch to investors that are tuning in right now and don't know like where to begin and put together a great presentation. So if you can kind of give us some pointers on that, I think that'd be a great way to end the conversation.
Yeah, 100%. So, I mean, it was a 5-minute pitch, and there was loads of different scenarios that you could get. So you have to have a structure, like you have to have a beginning, a middle, and an end, and a next step at the end as well. Like, so a call to action of what you want people to do. And then one of the my mentors told me like that you need to convey sort of three things, like always try and convey three things from yourself. It could be your passion, it could be your sort of humor, it could be your enthusiasm. Like always try and have these three things conveyed, because you can see it with speakers. Like one of my favorite speakers in the company was always like super passionate, but also super humble as well. So always try and convey that. And then the last thing he told me was like, what do you want people to say after they see you speak? Like, what do you want them to take away? So it could be like, it could be anything like, who was that? Like, that was so much energy, enthusiasm. But I think it goes back to that call to action at the end, but the beginning, the middle, and an end, a clear structure, concise, simple.
It's storytelling is what it is, right? And so a great movie has a what? Great beginning, middle, and end. Act 1, Act 2, Act 3. And it's tied together. And who's the protagonist, right? So basically you're up there, you're the protagonist, and why are they interested in you talking? Well, in a movie, why are we interested in this person? If you ever watch a movie and you're like, I don't really care about it, it's because you typically don't connect with that protagonist or the antagonist or whoever that might be. And then it just becomes boring. But yeah, you're up on stage, you're sharing a story. It's why is it important for them to connect with you? And now it's not just the information and bullet points, it's how you're delivering it, right? And I'm not trying to tell you and educate you, but I'm just taking what you just said and kind of collecting a thought on it. And then the ending is the big moment. It's the reveal. This is what you're getting out of listening to my 7, 10, 15-minute TED Talk, whatever it might be, right? Or a pitch to a company. And then the action on it. What are you doing? Are they going to invest in you? Are they buying your product? Are they clicking your link? Are they going to subscribe to your channel? Whatever it is, whatever the ask is after that moment. Really well said. Phenomenal advice today. Really cool story. You just got a lot of cool things we talked about today. It went really fast. We blew through an hour. I feel like I just got to know you here. And I asked you like 2 questions and we're at the end of it. So it went very fast. I don't want it to end. Let's keep the conversations going offline and continue to root for each other from afar. I have a lot of appreciation for what you're doing and the content that you're putting out, and also just the hustle that you got at the right, it's from your heart. I appreciate anybody who's doing it passionately for the right reasons. So I have a lot of respect for you. I look forward to reading your book. Any last words for the audience before you bounce?
Yeah, just be curious, because you never know. Like, ask the questions, because curiosity doesn't kill the cat. It sets the cat free, I think.
Yeah, really good. That's something I've learned about a lot of the highest performers in any industry or business, people. The Elon Musks, forget about the political side or whatever you like or don't like about him. But we talked about Grant Cardone, same thing. A lot of people love him, don't like him. He's very polarizing. Something I talked about with another guest recently is you take the good from everybody, the lessons you can learn, and you don't throw the whole thing out just because something you don't like about someone. So when we were just talking about, I mentioned Elon, something that's great about him is curiosity. He's always trying to figure more. He's learning, growing. He's willing to try something new. Great people are always reading a new book, learning a new thing, a new skill, something, and being curious. Although I do think curiosity does kill the cat, because I have a beautiful cat, Shirley, and she's always getting into stuff, and she's always like, I'm like, oh my God, curiosity killed the cat for sure. But I understand what you're saying here. Stay curious, always learn, always grow. This conversation was incredible. Gary, thank you so much for being on the show. I like to end every episode with these 2 things. Be great. And we talked about what greatness means on the show, doing things at that high level, consistency, what goes into a great sales presentation, great mindset, great mentality. We talked about it. And you also mentioned the other part of it. It's be great and be grateful. And you talked about the importance of gratitude. And dude, I am so grateful for you being on the show. Cheers from across the pond. I'm going to enjoy Oasis, and I'll enjoy it for the both of us. For you, how old were you back in the 90s when they were out? Were you like me, about
we're the same age now. I'm 38 now, almost 39.
Yeah.
Same.
So yeah, like when Wonderwall came out and everything, I think we were probably 8 years old, and I remember rolling around in my parents' car, and I had the cassette of it. Cassette, yes, I said cassette. So the younger crowd's like, what the hell is he talking about? But yeah, I'm excited to see them. Abbey Road, fantastic album. You ever listen to this one, Chili Peppers?
Yes, yeah, I listened to it today.
Blood
Actually,
Sugar.
road tripping with my favorite allies. I listened to that today.
Right here. What a great album. Yeah, both of these are they're my two favorite, but the Chili Peppers, they've been great for over 30 years. Dude, thank you again for being on. Let's continue the friendship and continue to grow it.
Yeah, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Have a great day.
Appreciate it.